Here are the top stories for today, November 3, 2021. President Rodrigo Duterte stands firm on the 5-day closure of cemeteries during Undas. He maintains this is among the measures to control the spread of COVID-19. The general curfew in Metro Manila is lifted starting tomorrow amid increased business operations. Local government units may still impose curfew for minors based on their respective ordinances. More jabs from Russia. Some 2.7 million Sputnik V jabs arrive in the country, helping the country inch closer to its goal of administering 1 million jabs daily. And joining forces to save the Earth, world leaders commit to planting more trees in the race against time to battle climate change at the COP26 summit in Glasgow. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. President Rodrigo Duterte defended the 5-day closure of cemeteries, memorial parks, and columbaria nationwide during Undas. This after some local government units sought the opening of cemeteries in their areas for at least 2 days, specifically October 30 and 31, noting that there would be an influx of visitors on different days. The president pointed out that the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases called the shots in deciding ways to prevent a potential super spreader event. Cemeteries, memorial parks, and columbaria nationwide were closed from October 29 to November 2nd to curb the spread of COVID-19. However, they would be allowed to open outside of these dates at 30 to 50% of their maximum capacity.
Ito ho ay talagang utos, mandatos ng IATF at wala po tayong magawa at sumunod. Kasi sila yung may authority na magsabi ito, sunod tayo, dito tayo insofar as the fight against COVID. And if they think that it is really not good for the health of the people to be crowding in cemeteries in great numbers, those were the problems that they expected and tried to avoid.
The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority announced today that curfew in Metro Manila is lifted beginning November 4. In a radio interview, MMDA Chairman Benhur Abalos said local government units may, however, impose curfew restrictions on minors. Since October 13, the curfew in Metro Manila has been set at 12 midnight to 4 a.m. Earlier, Abalos said mall operators have agreed to extend their operating hours in time for the holiday season. They, however, expressed worry for their workers who would have to work late despite the limited transport capacity and curfew. Mall operators also agreed to stop holding holiday sales to prevent traffic on EDSA. The Interagency Task Force is studying the possibility of lifting the current policy on the use of face shields in the country. Malacanang said the significant drop in COVID-19 cases might persuade the IATF to withdraw the requirement of wearing a face shield. Presidential spokesperson Secretary Roque, however, clarified that despite the decline in cases, the IATF has yet to decide on the use of face shields. Roque reminded the public for now to continue wearing face shields in enclosed and crowded spaces. In December last year, the IATF ordered all persons to wear full coverage face shields on top of face masks in all public places to reduce COVID-19 transmission. Last September, President Rodrigo Duterte decided to limit the use of face shields in the so-called 3 Cs, or closed and crowded spaces and close contact. In Davao City, public utility vehicles and motorcycles are no longer required to use plastic barriers in their vehicles. This as more Davaoeños are already vaccinated against COVID-19. However, Mayor Sara Duterte still urges the public to continue to adhere to the health and safety protocols, such as wearing of face masks and physical distancing inside the vehicles. So far, Davao City have already fully vaccinated 61.45% of the eligible population. Moving on to business, the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry expressed its support to the proposal to further ease the alert level in the National Capital Region or NCR to Level 2. In a statement, PCCI President Benedicto Huico said businesses have lost money and opportunity amid the COVID-19 pandemic, and it is critical to fully open the economy to allow them to recover and recoup their losses. Huico said allowing more businesses to open and expand capacity is a good move, especially during the Christmas season where there is a surge in consumer spending. Under Alert Level 2, businesses can operate at 50% capacity for indoor activities and 70% capacity for outdoor services. It also opens up the transportation sector to 70%. The Interagency Task Force maintained the Alert Level 3 in Metro Manila until November 14. As more COVID-19 vaccines arrive in the country, President Rodrigo Duterte wants to ensure more Filipinos will be inoculated in the soonest possible time. In his talk to the people aired this morning, the president has ordered the use of police and military air assets to deliver the life-saving jabs in provinces and municipalities. The president also urges the local government units to ensure that there are enough vaccinators in their areas. Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. earlier recommended doing house-to-house vaccinations and address vaccine hesitancy among their constituents.
Hindi ko malaman kung saan talaga nagkakamali, kung may mali, bakit mahina ang paglabas ng bakuna dito sa nasyonal, medyo okay. Ang problema pagdating doon sa provincial, regional level, doon nakakaroon ng medyo problema. I hope that the local governments, the mayors would take time really to attend to this problem of delay.
PCOO Secretary Martin Andanaro on Tuesday said that the country is winning in terms of addressing the illegal drug abuse and proliferation of drug-related crimes. Andanaro reiterated the government's report where around 1.2 million drug surrenderers underwent rehabilitation programs. The government has also seized more than 15 billion pesos worth of shabu and 16 billion pesos worth of dangerous drugs in the past years. Recently, the Bureau of Customs seized about 8.6 million pesos worth of party drugs concealed in 3 shipments in Pasay City. An investigation is also underway to determine the source of the 5.3 million pesos worth of cocaine seized in Tawi-Tawi last week. Reports from the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency also shows that more than 40 billion pesos worth of illegal drugs, controlled precursors, and essential chemicals have been destroyed since July 2016. Andanar said the campaign against drugs is part of the government's initiative to push for safer streets and uplift the well-being of Filipinos. Still to come, from Russia with love and protection, some 2.7 million Sputnik V doses add up to the country's COVID-19 stockpile. And labor officials from Manila and Riyadh sit down for talks over some 4 billion worth of unpaid wages of OFWs in Saudi. Details ahead, keep it here on the PNA Newsroom.
Kung customer ka, pupuntahan mo ba yung mukhang safe naman o yung certified na safe? Ang safety seal ay patunay na certified safe ang iyong business dahil nasusunod ang minimum public health standards. Meron din itong QR code para mapadali ang contact tracing. Ito ay libre lang. Pero, kailangang i-renew every 6 months or every year kung nasa tourism sector ang iyong business. Kung meron ka ng mga documents na ito, pwede ka na mag-apply para sa Safety Seal Certification. May iba-ibang office para sa iba't ibang klase ng mga negosyo. Pag na-determine nyo na ang issuing authority, simple lang ang steps para makuha ang safety seal. Pumunta sa office ng issuing authority o sa kanilang website. Kumuha ng safety seal checklist at magsagawa ng self-assessment para sa iyong business. I-submit ang checklist at abangan ang inspection schedule. Pag na-approve ang application, bibigyan kayo ng safety seal sticker. Pag hindi naman na-approve, sasabihin kung anong health standard ang hindi nasunod at bibigyan kayo ng pagkakataong ayusin ito. Pag nakuha na ang safety seal, ipaskil ito sa may entrance para makita agad ng mga customer. Pwede nyo rin ipagmalaki na certified safe kayo sa inyong mga social media pages. Paalala lamang, ang isang safety seal ay para sa isang branch lang. Siguraduhin bawat branch mo ay certified safe. Siguraduhin din na nasusunod palagi ang minimum public health standards dahil baka mabawi ang iyong certification. Maaring mag-operate kahit na walang safety seal. Pero hindi ba mas mahalagang kampante ang mga customer sa loob ng iyong negosyo? Kaya kumuha na ng safety seal para ingat-angat tayong lahat.
The government officially roll out the nationwide vaccination of minors aged 12 to 17 years. Even minors without comorbidities can now avail of the life-saving jabs. National Task Force Special Advisor Dr. Ted Herbosa said they are planning to conduct a national immunization day to administer the current vaccine stockpile of more than 50 million doses as the government continuously receives more COVID-19 vaccines. Yesterday, another shipment of government-procured Sputnik V vaccines arrived. This shipment is the biggest delivery so far by Russia's Gamaleya Research Institute. With the arrival of more jabs, Health Undersecretary Mirna Cabotaje said the government is eyeing to inject between 1 and 1.5 million doses daily beginning next week. Meanwhile, the government intends to replace the 148,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccines which were lost in Zamboanga fire last Sunday, October 31. As such, the administration of jabs at the provincial and municipal levels is rescheduled. Responders are still trying to retrieve other items like refrigerators, vaccine carriers, and transport boxes. More provinces ramp up its pediatric vaccination drive as the national government aims to complete the vaccination of minors by December this year. The details from Marita Mawahe.
In Bacolod City, more and more parents are beginning to appreciate the importance of a pediatric vaccination. This as the city government has recorded the most number of teen vaccine recipients in a single venue during its rollout last Friday, October 29, where some 266 minors aged 12 to 17 got vaccinated at the Riverside College Annex building. Pediatric vaccination has resumed today until tomorrow. In Cebu City, over 10,000 minors have registered for the COVID-19 vaccination rollout. The city government says it targets to inoculate at least 150,000 minors starting Friday, November 5 or Monday, November 8. Among the inoculation sites being considered are the Southwestern University, University of Cebu, Alcantara Campus, and Ayala Center, Cebu. Pediatric vaccination drive also resumed in Baguio City today. More than 4,000 children with comorbidities have registered to avail of the COVID-19 jobs. The City of Pines rolled out its COVID-19 vaccination for minors at 12 to 17 years old last week, October 29, at the Baguio General Hospital and Medical Center, where some 150 minors received their first dose. Butuan City also opens its vaccination sites for minors even without comorbidities. The two designated vaccination sites for minors are SM City and Robinson's Place. The local government is ramping up its vaccination drive. Anyone who wants to avail of the free job can just proceed to the designated areas. In Bataan, pediatric vaccinations will resume on Friday, November 5. This after the ceremonial inoculation of the minors with comorbidities commenced on October 29. And here in Manila, the general inoculation for minors aged 12 to 17 begins today. The pediatric vaccination was held from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the various inoculation sites, which include the Gat Andres Bonifacio Memorial Medical Center, Hospital ng Tondo, Jose Abad Santos General Hospital, Hospital ng Sampaloc, Hospital ng Maynila, and Santa Ana Hospitals. Around 51,551 minors have registered for the COVID-19 vaccination program. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Marita Muaje.
The Department of Health has recorded 520 cases of the highly transmissible and dominant Delta variant of the coronavirus nationwide as of Tuesday. DOH Epidemiology Bureau OIC Director Althea de Guzman said the new Delta variant cases were from a total of 748 samples. Aside from the Delta cases, there were 83 Beta variant cases and 64 Alpha cases. De Guzman said the percent of Delta variant detected in the country has increased from 4.9% in June to 99.8% of lineages detected in October. Meanwhile, 8 of the 520 new Delta variants are from the National Capital Region or NCR. The Cordillera Administrative Region recorded the most Delta infections at 78, followed by Bicol Region at 75 and Cagayan Valley at 61. Meantime, the P.3 variant, which was initially observed in only one region in the country, is now detected in all regions. The Commission on Elections allayed the public's fears about the logistic provider that will handle the delivery of vote counting machines to deployment hubs in the country. COMELEC spokesperson James Jimenez made this assurance after the poll body signed the 539 million peso contract with F2 Logistics for the delivery of BCMs and ballots in the May 2022 elections. In his Twitter account, Jimenez said that after delivery, the VCMs will undergo final testing and sealing up to 3 days before Election Day on May 9. After the voting ends, he said the VCM will print out an election return hard copy, which is then certified by the Electoral Board and watchers. Jimenez said several safeguards are in place to ensure that the logistics provider cannot tamper with votes. He said there is no reason for the contract of F2 Logistics to be canceled. Philippine labor officials will be conducting a series of discussions with its counterparts from Saudi Arabia on the kingdom's commitment to pay more than 4 billion pesos worth of salaries and benefits of some 9,000 displaced overseas Filipino workers. Overseas Workers Welfare Administration Chief Hans Leo Kakdak said the distribution of the payment to the affected workers will also be discussed during the meeting. Kakdak also said the OWA and the Philippine Overseas Employment Administration are studying the possible deployment ban of Filipino workers in Saudi Arabia. On Sunday, Secretary Silvestre Bello III announced that the Saudi government is expected to pay the unpaid salaries of OFWs who were forced to return to the Philippines several years ago. He is optimistic the payment will be made when Labor Minister Ahmed Al-Raji visits the country in December this year. More stories from the newsroom. The European Union joins calls for justice over the killing of Davao del Sur journalist Orlando Dinoy. And saving the Earth one step at a time, world leaders commit collective action at the UN Climate Change Summit in Glasgow. Back after a quick break, stay with the PNA Newsroom. The European Union delegation in Manila has condemned the killing of Davao del Sur journalist Orlando Dondon Dinoy, who was gunned down last Saturday inside his apartment. In a statement, the delegation also commended the government for its prompt action to ensure that justice will be served. The Presidential Task Force on Media Security earlier said the police is currently investigating the incident. PT-FOM's Executive Director Joel C. Egco said the task force has mobilized its agents through lawyer Perry Solis and investigation head Colonel Rechi Duldulao as soon as the case was reported to them. Dinoy was a reporter for Newsline Philippines in Davao City and a volunteer anchor of Digo City-based Energy FM. He was also a former correspondent of the Philippine Daily Inquirer and Sunstar Super Balita. More than 100 world leaders signed a declaration Monday committing to halt and reverse forest loss and land degradation by 2030. Under the leaders' declaration on forests and land use, 12 countries pledged to spend $12 billion in public funds between 2021 and 2025 to protect and restore forests, while an additional $7.2 billion will be provided by private investors. The announcement came on the opening of the Leaders Summit of the 26th session of the Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Among the agendas are to lower global temperatures, reduce carbon emissions, conserve ecosystems, enhance rural livelihoods, incentivize sustainable agriculture, and reverse forest loss and degradation. The Worldwide Fund for Nature, or WWF, meanwhile urged governments to improve the governance of land and forests by enhancing participation, accountability, and transparency and addressing corrupt behaviors. The Eastern Mindanao Command has debunked claims of the Communist Party of the Philippines New People's Army National Democratic Front that one of its high-profile leaders killed by the military in Impasugong, Bukidnon was ambushed. In a statement, East Mincom Commander Lieutenant General Greg Almerol said PNA spokesperson and CPP-NDF leader George Caoris Madlos was killed in a legitimate encounter. He said the communist group merely attempts to save face and discredit the military. A statement from the NDF and circulated among media outlets on October 31 claimed Madlos was about to go for a medical checkup when government troops killed him. Bronner also denied Madlos was unarmed and ambushed, saying the Armed Forces of the Philippines respects the international humanitarian law. He said it was CPP, NPA, NDF forces who used anti-personnel mines to ambush police and military personnel, including civilians, like in the case of university athlete Keith Absalon and his uncle. The Christmas season is finally coming, and so are the scammers. The Quezon City government issued yet another warning on Tuesday against fraudsters who misrepresent themselves as local officials or those connected with the mayor's office. In a Facebook post, the city government revealed that unscrupulous individuals are posing as city officials to solicit money or merchandise. The modus involves voice calls, text or private messages, and emails supposedly from official sources of the city government. Mayor Joy Belmonte warned that her office and the Quezon City Police Department are investigating the scam and will run after them. In a separate statement, City Legal Department head lawyer Orlando Paulo Casimiro assured the guilty will definitely face charges. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. President Rodrigo Duterte stands firm on the 5-day closure of cemeteries during Undas. He maintains this is among the measures to control the spread of COVID-19. The general curfew in Metro Manila is lifted starting tomorrow amid increased business operations. Local government units may still impose curfew for minors based on their respective ordinances. More jabs from Russia. Some 2.7 million Sputnik V jabs arrive in the country, helping the country inch closer to its goal of administering 1 million jabs daily. And joining forces to save the Earth, world leaders commit to planting more trees in the race against time to battle climate change at the COP26 summit in Glasgow. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19. So remember, wear your face masks and face shields, wash your hands often, practice safe physical distancing, go out only for essential reasons, and get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. For more news content, check our webpage or log on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And it is 52 more days to go before the Christmas holiday. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, we tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day. Stay safe, everyone.